Good morning from day 5 aboard the Disney Fantasy. Today we are in Falmouth, Jamaica, and we have an excursion booked on the island. We have a horseback ride and swim. So, let's go.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
We are back on board and cleaned up, ready for our mixology seminar. Let's go.
Arriba,
Arriba,
abajo,
abajo,
al centro,
al centro,
adentro.
adentro.
Shoot it.
Okay, so we just finished up our mixology class. So overall thoughts on that?
I didn't dislike any of the drinks.
Same.
I don't know that I was like, oh my gosh, I love them about any specific drink, but my drink of choice is a margarita.
Mm-hmm.
And that was not included in this tasting.
Yeah.
And your drink of choice is...
Anything whiskey related, and there was no whiskey involved.
There was no whiskey, no bourbon.
So,
but everything was good. There was neither of our favorites in there, but none of them were bad.
yeah. The zombie was very similar to like one you'd find at Trader Sam's or Polynesian, just very tropical, fruity, pineapple.
Yeah, I wish it didn't have the cinnamon.
Yeah.
I've learned that I don't love cinnamon in my rum drinks.
Mm-hmm.
But it was still very good.
Yeah.
The mojito was very good, but the blueberry flavor was a lot. To me, that one tasted like a melted popsicle. Just super sweet.
It was very sweet.
So there was nothing for me to disagree with on it, but I feel like I probably would have been happier with more of a classic mojito with a twist maybe, but not quite so like sugar. And then the limoncello martini was very good. I didn't think I liked martinis.
Yeah, and I typically don't. I don't like vermouth, which I know is like a dry martini, and I'm not just a fan of just kind of straight vodka, but what I've learned from both of these tastings is John, or Joan, or however he pronounces his name.
I think he said John.
Jhon is how he spells his name. She's from Peru. He's a fantastic bartender.
Yes.
He made a phenomenal margarita the first time we did it, and all the drinks today were fantastic.
Including, I don't drink coffee. I hate the taste of coffee. And I was really nervous because the shot to end the tasting was coffee based. But I was still able to drink it and it was still very good. The B52. So, got through that even though I was very nervous. But it was very good.
Yeah.
I asked him what his drink of choice was. Because he said that he's in the Skyline bar, which is the martini bar here on the ship, and he said he likes mojitos.
Yes.
That is his drink of choice.
In the summer.
And when it's warm. If he's somewhere cold, then he goes for a whiskey-based drink. But when he's somewhere warm, he goes for a mojito.
Yes, because he says it's more refreshing and whatnot, so makes sense.
Yeah, I should have asked him what was his favorite of the drinks we tasted today. But I guess based on that, it probably was the mojito.
Yes, and I think he said both the mojito, the Chambord mojito, and the Italian margarita, or not margarita, Italian martini are both at Palo. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. Well worth it, I think, we paid $25 for it. That price has now gone up to, I believe, $45.
Which is a lot.
Yes. Don't know if it's worth $45. Definitely worth the $25, I would say. You do get 5 drinks.
Well, you get 4 small cocktails.
Yes, and a shot.
And a shot.
So.
At least on our sailing. And with COVID protocols currently, I don't know when they will swap. You don't get to do any hands-on of anything.
Previously, it was you got to go behind the bar,
you got to actually
mix it
mix
yourself,
things.
And kind of control how much rum went in your drinks and whatnot. So, very different now, but
casually with my Wild Africa Trek water bottle.
Yes. But yeah, very different setup now with COVID protocols, but it all does make sense. It seems like the cruise line is a few months behind, more conservative with all the protocols. All the cast members wear masks on board, so.
But also, we stopped by the DVC desk, and previously there had been a DVC member kind of meetup reception welcome, where they would give you a free cocktail and kind of say, hey, buy more points. But they said it's actually coming back at the next sailing.
Yes.
We just barely missed it.
Starting next week, so
it'll be interesting to see by the time this video is posted if the cruise is more normal.
True. Very true. But yeah, so that was our mixology experience today. But we also had our lovely excursion on land in Falmouth.
Yes.
So we did the Chukka Horseback Ride and Swim. And first things first, we have gone back and forth on this excursion a few times now.
Several times.
We originally wanted the Chukka Horseback Ride and Swim plus lunch plus Duns River Falls because it was a fantastic value, like $30 more, I think. And
it was more like $50 more.
Okay. But still, you got a second location and lunch included, so it seemed worth it for that. So that was unavailable when it was time to book. We booked it with just the horseback riding, and then I checked randomly one day and it was available, so I grabbed it. We got on board and apparently it was canceled.
We just had a note in our stateroom that said, unfortunately, your excursion has been canceled.
Yes.
That was it.
So luckily we were able to switch it back to just the horseback riding, which I'm glad that was available at that point. But so we did that. And yeah, so no lunch, no Duns River Falls, just the Chukka Horseback Ride and Swim, which includes horseback riding on a trail and then horseback riding through the ocean.
Which they said it can vary which one you do first.
Yes.
We lucked out and did the trail ride first, which I think I would prefer. But luckily that's what we did.
Yeah.
We were separated. They were kind of... Basically at the beginning, they give you a helmet and then they match you up to a horse. But you were pulled way before I did.
Yeah.
I was the third from the last pulled. So you were just out and about.
Yes.
And you were just riding on... Your horse's name was?
Champagne.
Champagne. Robbie was riding on Champagne around... They had like a little kind of lap.
Yeah.
And then I got pulled and I said, what is this horse's name? And they said, Nation. And I said, what? They said, Nation. And I said, okay. And they said, as in imagination. And I said, oh no. Okay. But thinking, they gave me Figment as a horse. Great. We'll see how this goes. And then basically, they kept making laps. And then they were sending in the later riders to be with their person, family, etc. So eventually we were reunited. And we rode all around and we got to ride by the ocean, which was beautiful. Imagination seemed to be an older horse. And lots of personality. Very, like... I have ridden before, but Imagination was just like... I know how to do this. I know what I'm doing. We are going this way.
Yes.
I also asked when I sat down, will this be the horse I ride in the ocean or in the water? And they said, well, Imagination's not a good swimmer, so no. And there were a lot of puddles on the trail. So Nation would just like go around the puddles. Even if there was one point we just went in the grass. I tried to lead. And if we ever stopped, Imagination was like, snack time! And then I would have to pull back on the reins, and Imagination was like, oh, fine. And then we would continue on. And we were supposed to leave a horse's length between to prevent horses from biting each other and kicking, because I didn't want to get kicked. But Imagination wasn't fond of the people in front of us. So we were about 2 to 3 horses behind. I tried to speed them up. The horse was like, nah. So we had a leisurely trail ride.
Yeah.
But Imagination was a good trail buddy, good horse, sweet horse. You are, like, not strapped in any sort of way.
No.
You hold the reins pretty close up, so you can control the horse pretty easily. But as far as balancing, I held the reins in my right hand and then kind of held onto the saddle with my left.
I had the GoPro.
It
so
was fairly
a little harder.
rocky.
Yes, it was very rocky.
And puddles, like I said before. But it was still a really wonderful ride. It was just very hot. And then at the end of the ride, Imagination pushed in front of the other horses, ran over to a palm frond, pulled it down, chewed on it for a little bit, and I'm going, oh no. And then ran in front of the other horses, no matter what I did, and was like, you get off now. So then that was the end of my trail ride.
Yeah. And it seemed like most of the horses kind of just followed whoever was in front of them, too, just in a line. Because basically whatever your horse did, my horse followed. When you went off the course, mine did, too.
There were horses of varying sizes. There were people in our excursion who had never been on a horse before. And the guides were very
hands-on.
helpful, very hands-on. So the people who weren't totally comfortable, I know at one point one guide was literally holding the reins for a younger girl who was on the excursion and making sure she was safe. But it seemed like all of the horses knew what they were doing, and I don't think anybody had a bad time in any way, shape, or form.
And then after that, after the trail ride, we went into the ocean after a little break on some different horses and just kind of went...
I was on Hurricane.
I never found out the name of my horse.
I asked so I could talk to them the whole time and cheer them on and tell them they were a good horse.
There you go. But the ride in the ocean was a lot more intense.
Yes.
They were going a lot faster.
Well, the guides kept just yelling, "Arriba, arriba!"
Yeah.
Which I was like, we are in Jamaica. But okay. And you did get wet close to the waistline.
Yes. Not quite the waist, at least on mine,
Yeah.
but you do get wet. So wear some sort of swimsuit of sorts.
And closed-toed shoes.
Yes, those are required.
They were selling water shoes for, we heard, $15 a pair. We got ours for $5 at Five Below.
Yeah.
100 years ago, pre-pandemic. And that's what we brought with us today.
Yeah. But the water section was very short, but very fun. I think it was like 5 minutes total.
Definitely, it was fun. We had really wonderful guides. They were taking pictures along the way. We didn't purchase ours, but for 2 people, it was $60 for all of your photos.
Yes, so probably $30 per person. So, to be expected, but we did not purchase them.
I didn't think the photos were spectacular.
Yeah.
They were going through the pictures, and it was like they would cut off the legs of the horse. There were just certain things that from a photography perspective, it was like if you had just taken a step back, this would have been a whole lot better photo.
Right. There also was quite the long bus ride
Yes.
to and from. It's about 45 minutes or so.
45.
But I will say, huge shout out to the bus driver and our kind of guide who just helped us on the bus. Sophia was the guide, and
Oliver was our bus driver.
She was phenomenal. He didn't say much, but he was driving the bus. So he was pretty busy, but she was phenomenal, giving us all this fun facts about Jamaica, history of the island,
information, just all sorts of things, pointing things out, explaining the houses are unfinished because people keep adding on.
Right.
Okay. Wouldn't have known that had she not told us. And with the ride, we were able to see a little bit more. It wasn't just port, land at the horses.
True. So, because there's 14 parishes total on the island. I think we drove through maybe 4 or 5.
The Prime Minister on the way back just
drove past.
around us.
Yeah, with a police escort, of course. But
Yes.
that was kind of cool. I guess he was heading to Montego Bay for whatever reason. But yeah, very cool day in Jamaica. Very, very fancy port area too.
Yeah.
Nice shops, nice little market, handmade stuff.
It was a beautiful country.
Yeah.
It was just, there were aspects of it that just, in little parts, that looked so poor.
Yeah. It was weird. We were kind of talking about it on the bus ride. It's so beautiful, but there are parts that are so poor. But every person that we interacted with was so proud to be Jamaican.
Jamaican.
So, very cool to see. Very, very interesting. Very cool country. But yeah.
Was there anything you didn't love about the excursion?
The ride through the ocean was pretty uncomfortable. Because you do go saddleless. There's a little bit of a pad, but
There's a pad,
it's
but
uncomfortable.
it's close to bareback.
Yeah.
You don't have any stirrups. So there is no, this is where your feet go.
And nothing to grab other than the reins.
I held on to the saddle. I did the same thing. I held on to the little pad with my left hand and my right hand held the reins. But I would agree with that it was a little oh dang. My biggest complaint was that the women's restrooms when we got there, the toilets did not flush and the sinks were not running. But there was hand sanitizer outside of the restrooms, so that's what I used. But it was basically porta potty light.
Right.
But still, all in all,
Great day in Jamaica.
I had a lovely time with imagination, and
Champagne.
you had champagne.
I had champagne. You had hurricane.
I had hurricane in the water.
Yes. Great day in Jamaica. Great excursion. Would recommend it. But, yeah. Back on board now. Did our mixology tasting. And now I think it's time to head to some maybe trivia before dinner. So,
Why not?
yeah, why not? Our dinner this evening was back at Enchanted Garden. We started off with our bread course, which was a fig and date ciabatta roll with a minted yogurt dip. For our appetizers, we had the garlic and parsley sauteed shrimp over a jambalaya rice, an Enchanted Garden platter, which is basically a charcuterie board, and a salmon gravlax, which was served with a honey mustard dressing. For our entrees, I ordered the grilled fillet of turbot, which was served over a potato puree. And Hannah tried one of the vegetarian entrees today. She ordered the vegetable lasagna. For dessert, I ordered the white chocolate bread pudding, which was served with some butterscotch sauce and vanilla ice cream. And Hannah ordered the creme brulee cheesecake, which was layered of cheesecake and creme brulee served with some fresh whipped cream. And our game for this evening was we were given these 4 pieces and were told to make a capital letter T. And here is the solution.
I think it's a lobster?
Maybe?
I said crab, but crabs don't have a big
Head.
big fantail.
Or yeah, or that.
I was like, oh, little claws, and
Maybe a lobster. We'll go with lobster.
yay.
Very cute, though.
Okay, and once again, we did not film an outro / review of our evening from Falmouth, Jamaica. So here we are, well after the cruise, but that's okay.
We were very tired from our horse adventures and drinking, and then rambling about our horse adventures and drinking.
Yes. So, dinner this night. So the show this night was a ventriloquist. We did not go to the ventriloquist show. Skipped out on that. There's also a magician happening in the tube, but we decided to skip that as well since he was going to be doing a show the following day.
Well, this was the late night show.
Yes.
The late night adults only time.
Yes.
And I was too tired.
Yeah. But for dinner, we were in Enchanted Garden again. And this was not the strongest meal, but let's dive right into it. So, started with the bread service, and this was a fig and date ciabatta. I remember that being pretty good. You liked that one too.
I did, because it was kind of sweet, so it was at least interesting.
Yeah.
I'm never the bread lady. I don't want to fill up on it. But I will try it if it's interesting. And this was at least not just bread.
Right. So that was very good. And then for our appetizers here, salmon was good.
I only partook in the shrimp over jambalaya.
Yes.
And I liked it. That was probably one of the highlights of this meal.
Yeah. The charcuterie board was
Weird as
real
all
weird.
get out.
There was one piece that I'm sure you saw in the clip off to the, I think the bottom left-hand corner of the board that was like, I don't even know, some sort of minced meat with like a weird clear like fat jello on top of it and like wrapped in bread. Very, very strange. So would get the jambalaya and shrimp again, and we'll get the salmon again. The salmon was pretty good. As for our entrees here, I got the fillet of turbot, which is a fish. This one was good, nice and buttery, but nothing that stood out. Not the best meal that I've had on the ship, not the worst. So, and then you got your...
I had a bad time.
Yeah.
So, okay, y'all know I'm the picky eater. This was the night when they had like Thanksgiving and no chicken. So I was like, well, I could get the turkey, but I didn't like the sides that it came with. But all I would have eaten off that plate was like the turkey.
Right.
So instead I was like, well, I'll do the vegetable lasagna because we'd had a lot of luck with the pasta in the past. And when I ordered it, Putra was like, so I should have known.
Yeah.
And it was pretty actively bad. It was like each layer of the lasagna was a different vegetable, so it was really difficult to cut into it. So I kind of just had to eat it layer by layer. And the top was coated in like breadcrumbs, like big chunks of it. And that made me cough. I'm sorry, vegetarians. I wouldn't order this. And if you do order it, I hope you have a better time than I did.
Yeah.
This was probably my least favorite meal overall.
Yeah.
But I liked my dessert.
Yes, so for dessert, I ordered the white chocolate bread pudding, which was good. I had higher hopes for it based on what it was, but it was good. Nice and creamy and sweet and whatnot. Very different from the no sugar added dessert the previous day. But we'd probably try something different next time. And then you got your variation of creme brulee.
Yeah.
You got the creme brulee cheesecake here.
I did. It was good and I liked it.
Yeah.
It was like a conglomeration of the best parts of both things. So I was happy. That was probably my favorite part of the entire meal.
Yeah. The dessert here was definitely better than the dessert in Enchanted Garden the first time we were there. So there is that to say. But that was our dinner. Not the greatest dinner we had on the ship. Still had a lovely day.
Mm-hmm.
Still enjoyed our little horse excursion.
I love the horses. Mixology was interesting.
Yeah. But I think that will do it for us today. The next week's video is our second day at sea. So I don't remember what I know we finished up our detective work. And I think we went to the magician.
Yes. And towel folding.
Oh yes, we did towel fold, that's right. So be sure to tune in for that. So thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.
See you real soon.